Welcome back to Juno Communications, the Inside Scoop, where you can find us interviewing new and upcoming projects built on the Juno Network. I am thrilled to announce that we have today, we have Darry and Martin from nRide. They're going to be on discussing a little bit about the project built on Juno. How are you guys doing?
I'm doing great. Doing great.
Busy building, man. Busy building in the bear market. Smashing. First of all, thank you for coming on, guys. I'm excited for the chat today. But before we get into it, what is the application and what's your inspiration behind it?
I think, Martin, if you'd like to start, I can jump in after.
There's actually three main components to nRide. The first one is the driver registry, which is a smart contract deployed on Juno, which contains a database or list of all the drivers in the system with information about where they are, what kind of vehicle they're driving, and their networking address, where they receive messages, essentially, where we can send them messages. So when you're a rider, a user, and you're trying to go somewhere, you will consult this registry of drivers to see, okay, who are the drivers around me? So then the second important component is the messaging protocol, which, okay, once you know which drivers are around you, the messaging protocol defines the messages that you need to exchange with the drivers to agree on the journey and to coordinate the ride. So we call that the nRide protocol. And then the third component is the escrow mechanism, which is a smart contract deployed on Juno as well, which essentially serves as does the same thing as cancellation fees on centralized apps. So it's a contract where both users will lock funds once they be on a journey, and the funds will be unlocked when the ride is complete or if someone cancels late or things like that.
Yeah, and just to piggyback off what Martin said, we really feel that peer-to-peer applications pair well with gig economy focused applications. If you stay plugged into the ride hailing space, that drivers talk about a slew of different issues that exist within the ride hailing industry, from unfair pricing and a lack of transparency. So for this reason, we really feel like peer-to-peer and gig economy pair well together. And that's what really piqued my interest in being able to redistribute ownership in the form of DAOs and various different tools that decentralized applications and this technology can offer are one of the many different reasons why they pair well together. So really just focusing on being able to develop this and bring this over to the masses.
So when you say gig economy, what do you mean by it exactly?
Yeah, so when you think of a gig economy, you can think of freelance work or short-term contract work, whether people do it as a side hustle or as their main focused job. And you can think of popular platforms like Uber or DoorDash, where people are offering these services that are peer-to-peer, but as things exist right now are controlled by a lot of central intermediaries, which is what we're trying to solve right now with nRide. And just to add on to the cancellation, the escrow smart contract that Martin mentioned, it serves as the cancellation policy, but something that's cool, that's differentiating it is on platforms like Lyft and Uber, a cancellation policy is only extended to a rider, but on nRide, both the rider and driver have a stake in completing the pickup. So the driver will also be affected.
This is absolutely brilliant because there's nothing worse than an Uber driver cancelling on you.
Yeah.
And it is an absolute nightmare because when you're really trying to get home and you've just got driver after driver cancelling on you, and then you have to pay the £1 fee on top of that driver cancelling on you. It's like, so that's, you've found a solution, man, via the escrow contract. Really cool, man. Very well done. Yeah. This is all good. The quick question, I was going to ask it after the demonstration, but why does it even need a blockchain? That's my question. Why do we need a blockchain to complete these things?
That's a good question. There's a lot of it can be done like through pure peer-to-peer or peer-to-peer exchanging messages, but there's certain things that require more permanent storage, like the token itself and the driver registry. That's shared data, basically. We all need to be seeing the same version of that at the same time. So it could have been,
they've got the blockchain giving it security, like you say, with the security and validator set, giving consensus of such and such happened. Yeah, absolutely. Feel free to demonstrate, share the screen, show the community what you've got. Give us a big lowdown. Thank you.
So let's try this out. I'm going to try to share my screen. So I don't know if you're seeing these two emulators that I'm running locally on my machine.
All good.
All good, yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run one as a driver and one as a passenger.
So what on the back end's giving you the app, the map and stuff like that? Is it like, how does it all work, man?
That's Google Maps, but if you don't mind, I'll explain that.
Yeah, sure. No worries.
So the right side is going to be the driver, and the left side is going to be our passenger. So your question was, how does this all work? At the moment, what you're seeing there, the map is served by Google APIs, Google Maps. And yeah, essentially for all the things that like calculating routes, distances, and all that stuff, that's with Google APIs. Now on the right side, and the driver view, where there's that little green spot, what that means, remember what I was talking about the registry? The green thing means like you're actually registered. So you're set up to, you've added yourself on that list of drivers in that database, and you're set up to receive incoming requests from riders. So that's what that means. I also want to show you at this point the account view. So the app also serves as a wallet for the nRide token. So here we both have, so the rider and the driver both have 200 nRide tokens. And as we were talking about earlier about the escrow mechanism, we'll see how these balances change as we lock funds and unlock them when pickup is finished. So remember, right now they both have 200 nRide tokens.
Got it.
So yeah, let's get into it. So Highlander, why don't you like give me a destination where you want to go? Let's see. Give me any address in Manchester.
Right.
Of the stadium in Manchester again?
Old Trafford.
Old Trafford, is it?
Yeah, the Old Trafford. Can you type in the actual, it's served off Google, you can actually type in the letters. Yeah, that's great. Old Trafford. Brilliant.
Old Trafford. Okay.
You caught me on the spot there, Martin.
Yeah. The demo goes both ways, man.
Yeah, definitely. Right. Here we
go. So again, using Google APIs, it tells me like, it's 300 kilometers away. It's going to be 3 hours distance. And so I'm going to broadcast the request now to nearby drivers. And as a side note, you see these hexagons there? I don't know if you can see them or it's too small, but the hexagons on the map. Yeah, they essentially, the users are organized into areas like that, into hexagons. And essentially, that means that you're going to be interacting with other users that are in the same area. So, for instance, if you're in France or in China or anywhere outside of these hexagons, you won't be receiving these requests. Okay. And that's for the scalability of the system and kind of obvious. So I broadcast the request, and we should see the driver here receive the request. That's listed and says, okay, there's a guy who's 3 minutes away who wants to go to Old Trafford, which is 3 hours away. So if I'm a driver, I see this and I say, okay, I'm going to accept this. And at this point, I can name a price. So that's the idea. A lot of drivers will receive the request and they decide themselves what price they're willing to do it for. So for example, this is pretty far. So I'm going to say like 1,000, for example.
Yep.
So I name my price and send my proposal. And on the rider side, I receive the proposal. And I can see, okay, there's a driver 3 minutes away who's willing to do this for £1,000. And now imagine that normally you'd receive multiple proposals like this. Maybe one guy's half an hour away, but he's willing to do it for €500, £500, so on and so forth. So right now there's only one.
Martin, just to quickly add into that as well, that's a really powerful feature because a lot of riders will complain about like lack of transparency when it comes to pricing, but they're receiving real-time bids from drivers. And let's say the rider is really price sensitive, they can pick the lowest price, like Martin said, and so on and so forth. So that's a really powerful feature of the application.
So what happens when someone, like, you've got two drivers, one of them goes £1,000 to take me to Manchester. Then if another driver goes, I see the same fare, I'll do it for 800. Does he get to see the conflicting bids? Does he get to see there's another driver there that's offering 1,000, then for he knows how to undercut him? Or is it just a case of, I'm going to say 800 and this other driver says 1,000, and then the user just picks the cheapest fare and the drivers don't know what the other bids were?
Yeah.
Is that how it works?
So that's a good question. At the moment, the driver doesn't see the other bids.
It's good because obviously you don't want other drivers to be like undercutting you just because you've said the price, and then you've got other drivers just deliberately going, I'm going to go 20% cheaper so I get the fare. That would be frustrating. Yeah.
I'm glad you bring up the question, because that information, that message, so the offer, when the driver sent the proposal to the driver, that's not recorded on the blockchain. That's a private message sent from the driver directly to the rider.
Awesome.
And it's using an overlay network called NKN, which is encrypted, and it's another blockchain network that essentially that's like the networking layer of nRide. So that's how we send messages to and from users to this.
Wicked.
And that feature is really powerful, that the messages are being sent off chain, because for scalability, you don't want messages being sent on chain for a lot of different reasons. It would add bottlenecks to the process. That's why you saw real time how quick they're able to exchange messages back and forth.
Brilliant. Okay, so we've now got a driver. He's accepted the £1,000.
He's accepting now, and this is when the escrow stuff starts.
Okay.
So now we're saying, I'm accepting. I'm going to have to block 10 nRide tokens into an escrow smart contract. I'm going to send a confirmation over to the driver, who's going to he's going to check that I blocked those 10 tokens, and he's going to himself lock 10 tokens in the contract. So this all kind of happens under the hood here. Mm-hmm. And now we're in a view where, okay, it's all set up. We've both agreed and the funds are locked. And to check that the funds are locked and the escrow contract was created, we can go in the account view. That my balance went from 200 to 190. That's because as the rider, I blocked 10 tokens in the smart contract. And you can actually view there's like a little bit of info about the escrow that was created. I don't want to go here into detail about how it works. It's a little bit complicated, but you can see that it was essentially funded on both sides. There's a couple of timeouts there, and it's in the status that it hasn't been paid out yet. And you can see it's the same for the driver right now. So now, how do you unlock these tokens? There's kind of two options. Either one of them cancels, and then the payouts are calculated accordingly, or we both like actually show up. The driver actually shows up to pick you up, and we both say it was completed. So I'm going to go with the second option. I'm going to say, okay, it was completed. And I'm the rider, and I will say, okay, there's a message saying if you complete that, you're going to authorize the driver to redeem their tokens from the escrow. Okay. The driver gets a notification, says, hey, the other guy said it was completed. Do you agree? Yes, confirm. Same for the driver, says, the passenger says complete. Yes, complete. And that's actually where the stops at this point. nRide only goes up to the pickup. It's a tool for hailing a cab, basically, or hailing a ride. It doesn't cover everything that's once you've been picked up to the destination.
Okay.
That's a separate thing. So even the payment of the ride itself is outside of the app at the moment.
So that was you just answered my question there. I was going to ask, what currency is the transaction settled in? Is this something that a negotiation's held by the driver and the passenger, then they just either if it's cash or if it's through pay to my bank or pay me in crypto, it's held. But this application so far is basically to get a ride and to get to A to B via
precisely.
Cool. I like the idea of it right away. You're now negotiating a price with a driver. You're not having Uber fees put on top of it, because I speak to normal taxi drivers, black cabs, for instance. You live in London, so it's like, you know what I mean by a black cab. That black cabs they've got a competition now, because it's so easy for people on a mobile phone to just holler a cab. But the problem with Uber drivers is the cons that they have with Uber is they have a fee they need to pay at the end of the week to go to Uber, and then afterwards their profits on top. So therefore it is going to inflate the price of the ride, whereas you can actually get someone pretty straight up who, I'll take you to somewhere. We'll give you the actual rate. We don't need to worry about fees on top, like you said. Very cool. Very interesting.
In the account view, you can also see. So this time the app didn't crash, and so you can see that the status of the escrow contract is completed. It was approved on both sides, which means both people's deposits will be returned, and you can see that the balances have been updated accordingly. And the smart contracts, this escrow smart contract, as well as the registry are open source on GitHub right now. But the app itself, which is developed in Flutter, is not open source yet, but that's the plan. Like the plan for nRide is to be more than just an app, but we want the underlying protocol itself is going to be open, and the implementation, the source code is also going to be published so that other people, anyone can come up with an app, build their own app, and it will be compatible with this one. It will share the same user base.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I'm a freelancer myself, and if you can use little ideas like this, and it can cover quite a lot of industries, which the fundamental code that you might be open source and that would make sense to like people build upon that, which is the way to go, man, in my opinion. How does nRide self-sustain? It's like with the nRide token I've seen now, people are depositing into the escrow, people are getting their escrow money back. But how do you guys get something out of that?
Yeah, that's a good question. With our model on our whole platform, we wanted to make the application no service fees, no commission fees, or anything of that nature. So we're not really focused on generating revenue, but just really creating a platform for both riders and drivers to be able to connect with one another. And the nRide token is used as a core utility for the escrow smart contract. So it's utilized for that, but then also the DAO as well.
Yeah. Where is the DAO built? Is it built on DAO? Is it just a DAO that you sell? Where do we look into that?
Yeah, so the DAO is actually currently live, and it's built on DAO.
The links and stuff, we'll put it in the description below for everyone. I like the idea. Do you have any test users that have used the product? Have you had any real use cases of it yet?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So Martin and myself and another team member of ours are actually headed to Awesome. And at Awesome, we're going to be offering free rides to people attending the conference to and back from the hotel. So yes, a lot of users will be testing it there. And we'll have some content around that. That will be our first real world test case. So we're super excited about that.
That's an amazing idea. Well done. I'm heading over there myself. So what we're looking at, from the 12th of July through to the 16th, we have just around about a full month there to prep for that. Yeah, so we'll get some content out for you guys. You guys are going to offer some rides. How do you get the drivers?
That's a great question. At the conference, you guys will get to meet us because we'll be the ones operating the vehicles and we'll be your drivers for the event. So we're excited to meet some of the community.
Brilliant. And if you want to become a driver for nRide, do you need a special license in order to do taxiing? Is that a special license you do need legally?
It depends where you live. Yeah, in the UK you can't just do that. So at the moment, normally that's why we're targeting taxi drivers at the moment, because they're already regulated themselves, they're independent and accountable and all that. Yeah.
That's wicked. And then go on. Sorry, Dari. She got anything to add?
Yeah. So we're targeting taxi drivers, and Martin said they can be hailed on the street and they're their own independent drivers, basically. So helps with a lot of different legal issues. Down the line, are looking to extend to private hire drivers, which are your Uber, Lyft drivers, and freelance drivers, as you can call it.
I'm going to ask him another question in terms of like, how do we, like, Uber are pretty much market dominating. You've got Bolt in Europe. There's different countries operate different sort of companies now. I'm just kind of asking, like, how do we plan to sway these drivers away from more established names and convince them use nRide? Obviously, I know why I should be using nRide because it's on blockchain, it's peer-to-peer, it's smashing, but not many people are educated in that kind of industry yet. People don't really understand that crypto, they don't understand how it works, they're a bit scared of it. How would you guys target this market and how would you approach them?
It's a really good question. So as you can see from the application, outside of the token and the escrow smart contract, the user experience is very similar to Uber and Lyft. So that transition for drivers and riders would be very seamless. And that's our focus is we want it to be a very seamless transition that's easy to use. But then on top of that, like you mentioned, built on top of a blockchain that offers a lot of its benefits. And something that we've really realized within the driver taxi industry is they want ownership over the network that they power. Applications have tried and attempted to do this without blockchain technology and have failed for various different reasons. But because we're built on blockchain and we can really promote ownership via our DAO, they'll want to grow the network because they own the network through the nRide tokens and power it from that standpoint. So really marketing that and educating them. But then the main thing is the crypto element is going to be a background character, but it obviously adds a lot of really cool benefits that educate our users on gradually.
Yeah, brilliant answer. And the DAO, okay, so how do the drivers get control of the chain? Do they have nRide tokens that can stake to the DAO and then they have more power on how they want the project to steer? Is that the idea behind it then?
Yeah, so drivers, the whole idea is they have nRide tokens and they can stake it to the DAO that's built on DAO. And yeah, they can submit proposals of their own, vote, and their voting power is tied to how many tokens they have staked. And yeah, that's the whole idea behind it.
Wicked. That's amazing. If there's anybody that wants to contribute to the project or get any ideas, where is the best place to get a hold of you guys? Have you got a Discord or Twitter or anything that I can add into the description below?
Yeah, we have a Discord that guys can reach out to us. We also have our email posted on our website, and then we're active on our Twitter, so you can DM us. And yeah, we try to stay connected as much as possible.
Yeah, wicked. If there's any closing remarks or anything you'd like to add to the recording, I'm happy to add it in now, chaps. Anything at all?
Yeah, so what we're building with nRide is the nRide protocol. And our whole idea is we believe that gig economy based applications pair well with blockchain technology because of how it promotes ownership and permissionless innovation. So what we're trying to build is an open source protocol called nRide that different people building within the gig economy space can leverage to build their applications to promote the underpinnings of Web3 technology. So our protocol will be open source and we'll work with developers to build these applications. And the whole idea is to create this ecosystem of interconnected applications that leverage our protocol. And the first application, that's implementing it is the nRide application. And the idea of it is to really show the power of the protocol, but then also because it really tackles issues within the ride hailing industry.
It's one aspect that I hope was also clear is that, and which I think is really cool, is that other people can use the same software to build their own app. Like any kid from his room can go and build his own app. And what this removes is that massive barrier to entry of having to look for drivers, onboarding drivers and riders. So you immediately get access to the drivers of the other nRide application. You can leverage that.
Lovely stuff. I'll just thank you both for coming on the show today. I've been really impressed. I've been impressed with all the projects that come on this show. We're looking forward to some free rides around Awesome Wasm. I know I'll be testing it all out, getting shuttles from here, there, and everywhere. But yeah, I'm hoping to see you guys around more often, man. That's awesome. So I can reach you on Discord. Is that part of the Juno Discord, or have you got your own Discord?
We have our own personal Discord that you can join on our website.
Wicked, man. And yeah, that's fantastic. Thanks to the community for tuning in as well. And we'll see you all in Awesome Wars and some nRide taxis. Thank you again, Dari, and thank you again, Martin.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Peace.